They weren't burning. They were waiting for next year.
My name is Marcus Deshaun Williams. I am 34 years old. I died for 11 minutes on January 8, 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Before I begin, please subscribe so more people can hear testimonies like this. And what I saw changed everything. For years, I struggled with something I thought was small. I told myself it did not matter. I convinced myself I could handle it alone. But deep down, I knew something inside me was drifting, and I refused to face it. I grew up in church, Sunlight Baptist on Cascade Road. My grandmother made sure of that. Every Sunday, I was in the choir. Every watch night service on December 31st, I was at the altar, crying, praying, promising God I would change. Every January 1st, I woke up with fire in my chest. This year would be different. This year, I would stop lying at work. Stop watching things I had no business watching. Stop texting while driving. Stop living two lives. I made lists. I set goals. I deleted apps. I declared it in front of everyone. New year, new me. But by February, everything went back to normal. The apps came back. The lies returned. The conviction faded. And I told myself the same thing I always did. God understands. I will try again next year. I did not realize I was playing a game I could not win. I did not realize that every broken promise was hardening my heart one layer at a time. January 8th, 2023 started like any other Wednesday. I woke up late, rushed through a 2-minute prayer, skipped breakfast, hit the highway toward downtown Atlanta for a church leadership meeting. They had asked me to lead the men's accountability group. Me, the man who could not even hold himself accountable. But I said yes. I always said yes, because saying yes made me look committed, and looking committed was easier than being committed. The meeting went well. We prayed. We talked about discipleship, about integrity, about being the men God called us to be. I nodded. I agreed. I even volunteered to create the curriculum. But the whole time my phone was buzzing in my pocket, text after text. When the meeting ended, I got in my car. A silver Honda Accord with a faded Jesus Saves sticker on the bumper. I pulled out of the church parking lot and merged onto I-85 South. Traffic was light. The sun was setting behind the downtown skyline. Everything felt normal. Then my phone buzzed again. I glanced down, just for a second, just to read the message. I had promised God again that I would stop texting while driving. But this time felt different. This time, I told myself it was important. I unlocked the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I looked up. Brake lights. Dozens of them. Glowing red in the fading sunlight. I slammed the brakes. But I was going too fast. And then, I saw it. A semi-truck. 18 wheels. Barreling through the red light on the exit ramp. I did not have time to swerve. I did not have time to pray. I did not even have time to scream. The impact sounded like thunder. Metal crunched. Glass exploded. My body was thrown sideways as the car flipped. Once. Twice. 3 times. And then, silence. The pain hit first. Sharp. Burning. Across my chest and down my left arm. Then nothing. The pain vanished. Everything vanished. But I was still awake. I could see, but I could not feel. I was floating above the wreckage. My car was twisted like aluminum foil, wrapped around a guardrail. Smoke rising from the engine. Shattered glass glittering on the asphalt like diamonds under the headlights. And there, slumped in the driver's seat, was my body. My head tilted to the side. Blood trickling down my forehead. The airbag deflated across my chest. My hands still gripping the steering wheel. I tried to move toward myself, but I could not. I was stuck, suspended, weightless. Sirens screamed in the distance, growing louder, closer. People were running toward the car. A woman with a phone pressed to her ear. A man shouting something I could not hear. Their voices sounded muffled, like I was underwater. And then I felt it. A pull, not from above, from below. It started as a whisper in my chest. A tug, gentle at first, then stronger. I tried to resist. I tried to reach for my body. But the pull became violent. An invisible force wrapped around me and dragged me backward, away from the crash, away from the sirens, away from the light. The sky above me darkened, not like night, like something thicker, heavier. The air grew warm, then hot, then suffocating. I was falling. No, not falling. Being pulled. Down, down, down. The sounds of the highway faded. The voices disappeared. The sirens became distant echoes. And then silence. A silence so heavy it pressed against my soul. I could not see anything. Just darkness. Thick. Alive. Moving around me like smoke. Heat rose from below in slow, steady waves. Not fire. Not flames. Just heat. The kind that does not burn your skin but presses into your chest and makes it hard to breathe. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I tried to pray, but the words would not form. And then I heard it. A scream. Distant. Faint. But unmistakable. Then another. And another. Dozens of voices. Hundreds. All crying out at once. Some are sobbing. Some are pleading. Some are silent. But I could feel their despair like weight in the air. Shadows began to move around me. Not people. Not demons. Just shapes. Figures. Wandering. Aimless. Trapped. The ground beneath me solidified. I was no longer falling. I was standing. On scorched stone. Hot beneath my feet. Radiating heat that did not burn. But pressed. The darkness was not empty. It was full. Full of regret. Full of sorrow. Full of truth I had spent years avoiding. I looked around, trying to understand where I was, trying to make sense of what was happening. And then a voice. Not loud, not shouting, just present. It did not come from my ears. It came from inside me. Deep, steady, unmistakable. And it said, "This is where truth begins." I froze. My hands were shaking. My breath, if I even had breath, was breaking. I wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. I wanted to wake up, but I knew deep in my soul this was not a dream. This was real, and I was not ready. I stood there, on scorched stone that radiated heat without flame. The voice still echoing in my soul. This is where truth begins. I wanted to move, but my legs would not obey. I wanted to speak, but my mouth felt sealed. The darkness around me was not empty. It was heavy, thick, alive. I could feel it pressing against my chest, like hands pushing down on my lungs. The ground beneath me felt unstable. Hot, not burning, but radiating a heat that seeped into my bones and settled there. I looked down. My feet were bare. My clothes, the same ones I wore in the car, were intact, but they felt weightless, meaningless. Everything here felt stripped, raw, exposed. The air smelled like smoke. Old smoke. The kind that lingers after a fire is burned out, but the heat remains. And the sounds, distant cries, some sharp, some soft, some pleading, some silent, but all of them endless. I took a step forward. The stone beneath me did not crack, did not shift, but I felt the weight of it. The weight of every choice I had ever made pressing up through my feet and into my chest. I tried to call out, "Hello." My voice came out weak. Hollow. It did not echo. It just disappeared, swallowed by the darkness. And then I saw them. Shadows. Figures. Moving slowly in the distance. Not walking with purpose. Just drifting. Aimless. Like they had forgotten where they were going. Or maybe they knew. And that was worse. I moved toward one of them. A silhouette. Hunched. Still. I reached out. But before I could touch it, the figure faded. Like smoke dissolving into air. My hand trembled. I pulled it back. And that is when I felt it. A presence. Not in front of me. Beside me. I did not hear footsteps. I did not hear breathing. But I knew someone was there. I turned slowly. And I saw him. Not clearly. Not like you see a person standing in sunlight. But like you sense a storm before it arrives. The figure was tall. Robed in something that looked like light woven into fabric. His face was not visible, but I could feel his eyes. Piercing. Not angry. Not cruel. Just steady. Like he had been waiting for me. My knees buckled. I wanted to fall, but something held me upright. The presence spoke. Not with a voice that came from a mouth, but with words that formed inside my chest and spread through my soul. Marcus. Hearing my name in that place, in that voice, shattered something inside me. Tears I did not know I had began to fall. Where am I? I whispered. The presence did not move, but the atmosphere shifted. The heat grew heavier. The silence deepened. And then the voice spoke again. You're standing in the place where choices have consequences, where truth is no longer delayed, where grace has run out. I shook my head. No, I was in church. I was trying. The word hung in the air like an accusation. Not harsh, but final. Marcus, you have been trying for years. And every time you tried, you stopped. Every time you promised, you broke it. Every time you cried at an altar, you returned to the same sin by February. The words did not wound me. They exposed me. I thought I had time. Time is not a guarantee. It is a gift. And you have been treating it like a subscription you could cancel and renew at will. The presence moved, not forward, but the air around me seemed to open, like a veil lifting. And I saw it, a vision, not in front of me, inside me, playing out like a movie I cannot turn off. I saw thousands of people, men, women, young, old, all standing in rows, endless rows, and they were dressed in church clothes, suits, dresses, choir robes. Some held Bibles. Some had their hands raised, frozen, mid-worship, but their faces, their eyes were hollow, empty, like something inside them had burned out and left only the shell. What is this? I whispered. The voice answered. These are the ones who came to me every January with tears and resolutions, who promised change, who declared victory. But by February, they went back. And every time they went back, their hearts grew harder. Every broken promise became a layer of stone around their souls. Until one day, they could no longer feel conviction. They could no longer hear my voice. And when their time ran out, they stood before me with good intentions, but no transformation. I stared at the frozen souls. They looked familiar, like people I had seen before. In church, at altar calls, at watch night services, crying, promising, declaring, and then disappearing by spring. This is not punishment, Marcus. The voice was softer now, sadder. This is the result. This is what happens when people treat my grace like a trend, when they treat salvation like a New Year goal instead of a daily surrender. I did not send them here. They send themselves, one broken promise at a time. I felt my chest tighten, but I believed. I went to church. I sang. I prayed. Belief without obedience is not faith, Marcus. It is performance. And I am not impressed by performances. I am moved by surrendered hearts. The vision shifted, and then I saw him. Among the frozen souls, standing in a choir robe, hands raised, Bible in hand, eyes hollow. It was me, a version of me I was becoming. The me I would have been if I had not died that day. The me I was creating, one broken promise at a time. I fell to my knees. The scorched stone burned against my skin. But I did not care. No, please. The presence knelt beside me. I could feel the weight of his sorrow. You're not here yet, Marcus, but you were heading here, and you're not alone. Millions are on the same path. Millions who think they have time, who think God will always wait, who treat repentance like a seasonal event instead of a daily decision. I looked up at the frozen version of myself, and I realized something that crushed me. I was not afraid of hell because of the fire. I was afraid because I saw the truth. I had wasted the love of God. I had taken his grace for granted, and I had been becoming exactly what I refused to change. The presence stood. The vision began to fade, but his words remained. You cannot build a relationship with God on broken promises. He is not a vision board, Marcus. He is the King of Kings, and he demands surrender, not cycles. The frozen version of myself stared back at me. Hollow eyes, raised hands, a Bible clutched in lifeless fingers. I cannot look away. The presence stood beside me, waiting, letting the weight of the truth settle into my bones. Why, I whispered. Why did I end up like that? The voice answered, because you treated my father like a New Year resolution. You gave him your emotions, but not your obedience. You gave him your tears, but not your transformation. And every time you broke a promise to him, you hardened your own heart, little by little, layer by layer, until the day came when you could no longer feel his conviction. And by then, it was too late. I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. But I tried. I kept coming back. Coming back is not the same as staying, Marcus. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. You kept returning to the altar because it felt good, because it looked spiritual, because it made you feel like you were doing something. But the moment you left that altar, you went back to the same life, the same sins, the same excuses, and you called it grace. I wanted to argue, but I could not, because it was true. Every word was true. The presence moved closer, and the atmosphere shifted again. The vision expanded. I saw more, not just the frozen souls, but their stories. I saw a woman who promised God every January she would leave her toxic relationship. But every February, she went back. And every time she went back, her heart grew a little harder, until one day, she stopped hearing his voice altogether. I saw a man who swore he would stop lying at work, who deleted his browser history every New Year's Eve and promised to live pure. But by Valentine's Day, the same apps were back, the same sites, the same shame, and he convinced himself that trying was enough. I saw teenagers who rededicated their lives at youth camp every summer, who cried at the altar, who burned their old journals. But by the time school started, they were back to the same crowd, the same music, the same compromise. And they told themselves, I will get serious next year. The presence spoke again, and this time, his voice carried the weight of eternity. The enemy does not fear your resolutions, Marcus. He does not fear your tears. He does not fear your altar calls. He fears your repentance, because resolutions fade, but repentance transforms. Resolutions are about what you will do. Repentance is about who you will become. And the difference between the two is the difference between heaven and hell. I fell forward, my hands pressed against the scorched stone, the heat seared in my palms. But I welcomed it, because the pain in my chest was worse. How many chances did I waste? I whispered. The voice did not answer immediately. And in the silence, I saw it. Every watch night service I attended, every altar call I answered, every tear I cried, every promise I made. And then I saw the moments after, the compromises, the excuses, the silence. I saw myself driving home from church and turning on music I knew I should not listen to. I saw myself deleting apps on January 1 SD and reinstalling them by January 15th. I saw myself volunteering for ministry while hiding sins I refused to confess. I saw myself raising my hands in worship while my heart was far from God. And the worst part, I saw his face, not angry, not disappointed, just waiting, always waiting, hoping I would finally choose him over comfort, hoping I would finally surrender instead of perform. But I never did. I kept choosing the cycle. I kept choosing next time. The presence knelt beside me again, and I felt something I had never felt before. Not fear, not shame, but grief. Deep, soul-crushing grief. I wasted it, I whispered. I wasted his love. Yes, the word was not harsh. It was honest. But you're not the only one. Millions waste it every single day. Millions who think they have time, who think tomorrow is guaranteed, who think God will always extend another chance. But time is not guaranteed. Marcus, every sunrise you waste on next time is a gift you have taken for granted. Some people's next year never comes. I looked up. The frozen souls were still there, staring, waiting, trapped in the moment of their last broken promise. What do I do? I asked. What do I do now? The presence stood. And for the first time, the darkness around me began to crack. Thin lines of light broke through the smoke. You go back, and you warn them. You tell them that God is not mocked. That what a man sows, he will reap. You tell them that resolutions without repentance are just spiritual procrastination. You tell them that the phrase New Year, New Me has sent more souls to this place than any other lie because it delays true surrender. It makes people think they have time, when time is the one thing they do not control. The heat around me intensified. The stone beneath me felt like it was sinking. I could barely breathe. But how I gasped. How do I go back? The presence reached toward me, and I saw for the first time his hand. Not human, but real, solid, strong. Because your time is not finished. And because there are people who need to hear this warning before it is too late for them. The light grew brighter. The darkness began to shatter like glass. And just before everything broke apart, The voice spoke one last time. Tell them, Marcus. Tell them that God does not want their New Year promises. He wants their surrendered lives. Every single day. The ground beneath me gave way. If you're still here, thank you. Please subscribe if you want more testimonies like this, because what I'm about to tell you next changed everything. The light exploded around me. The heat vanished. The darkness shattered into 1,000 pieces. And I felt myself being pulled, not down, up, with violent force, like a hand reaching through water and dragging me to the surface. Air. I needed air. My chest burned. My lungs screamed. And then I gasped. But no air came. My lungs burned. My chest felt like it was being crushed. The light around me grew blinding. And then I felt it. A hand. Not the presence from before, but something stronger. Something that reached through the shattering darkness and grabbed hold of me. The pull was violent. Not gentle. Not slow. It yanked me upward with a force that felt like my soul was being ripped from the ground. The scorched stone fell away beneath me. The heat vanished. The cries faded. And I was rising. Fast. Faster. The darkness cracked around me like glass breaking under pressure. Shards of shadow fell away. And through the cracks, light poured in. Warm. Pure. Alive. The voice spoke one last time. Not beside me, but inside me. Your time is not finished. Go back. Warn them. And then everything exploded. The light, the darkness, the heat, all of it shattered at once. And I felt my body, cold, heavy, lifeless. I slammed back into it like falling from a building and hitting concrete. Pain shot through my chest. My ribs felt crushed. My head pounded. My lungs screamed for air. And then I gasped. This time air came. Sharp, cold, burning. It filled my lungs like fire. I tried to scream, but all that came out was a choked, desperate sound. Voices. Loud. Frantic. We got him. We got him. Stay with us. Stay with us. Hands pressed down on my chest. Hard. Rhythmic. I tried to open my eyes, but the light was too bright. Too harsh. I blinked. Once. Twice. Shapes formed above me. Faces. Paramedics. A woman with short hair and kind eyes leaning over me. A man barking orders into a radio. Male, mid-30s, pulse restored. 11 minutes down. Transporting now. 11 minutes. I had been dead for 11 minutes. I tried to speak, but my throat felt raw, like I had been screaming for hours. Don't try to talk, the woman said. Her voice was soft. Steady. You're okay. You're back. Just breathe. But I was not okay. I was alive, but I was not okay. Because what I had seen, what I had felt, what I had been shown, it was still pressing down on my chest. Heavier than the hands of the paramedics. Heavier than the weight of the crash. I turned my head slightly. Pain shot through my neck, but I did not care. I could see the wreckage. My car, twisted metal, shattered glass glittering under the flashing red and blue lights. A tow truck was already hooking chains to the frame. Traffic had stopped. People stood on the shoulder of I-85, staring, some recording on their phones, some just watching. I should have died in that car. I knew it. The paramedics knew it. But I did not, because I'd been sent back. Not for me, for them, for the warning. We're moving you now, the man said. I felt the gurney shift beneath me, wheels rolling over asphalt. The cold Georgia air hit my face. I could hear the highway again, cars passing, sirens wailing, the hum of the city continuing like nothing had happened. But everything had happened. The ambulance doors opened. They lifted me inside. The woman climbed in beside me, attached monitors to my chest, checked my pulse, shined a light in my eyes. Can you tell me your name? She asked. I swallowed. My voice came out hoarse, broken. Marcus. Marcus Williams. Good. Marcus, you're doing great. Just stay with me, okay? I nodded, but my mind was not in the ambulance. It was still there, in the darkness, standing in front of the frozen souls, staring at the version of myself I was becoming, hearing the voice. You cannot build a relationship with God on broken promises. The ambulance doors slammed shut. The siren screamed to life, and we sped toward Grady Memorial Hospital. But all I could think about was the warning. the one I had been given, the one I had to deliver, before it was too late. I spent 3 days in Grady Memorial Hospital. The doctors called it a miracle. 11 minutes without a pulse. No brain damage. No permanent injury. Just bruised ribs, a concussion, and a scar above my left eyebrow. They could not explain it, but I could. I was not supposed to survive that crash. I was not supposed to see what I saw. I was not supposed to come back. The first night in the hospital, I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. The frozen souls, the hollow eyes, the raised hands, the Bibles clutched in lifeless fingers. And I saw myself among them. I knew in that moment that I could not go back to the way I was living. I could not make another resolution. I could not cry at another altar and leave unchanged. I could not keep playing games with God, because the next time, there might not be a next time. When I got out of the hospital, I made a decision. Not a resolution, a decision. I deleted every app one had promised God I would delete. Permanently. I confessed everything to my pastor. The lies, the compromises, the double life. I told him I needed to step down from leadership. Not because I was disqualified, but because I refused to lead anyone until I truly lived what I preached. He understood. He prayed with me. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I stopped performing for people. I stopped trying to look committed. I started surrendering. Every single day, I woke up every morning and made a choice. Not once a year, every day, because I realized something in that place. God does not want my New Year promises. He wants my life. Every single day. I stopped waiting for January 1st to get serious. Every morning became my new year. Every sunrise became another chance to choose Him over comfort, to choose obedience over excuses, to choose transformation over tradition. And I have not been the same since. I'm not perfect. I still struggle, but I do not lie to myself anymore. I do not tell myself I have time, because I know the truth now. Time is not guaranteed, and every moment I waste is a moment I will never get back. If you are hearing this story, it is for a reason. Do not ignore the warning. Do not wait until next year to get right with God. Do not treat Him like a resolution you can break and remake whenever it is convenient. Examine your heart today, right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next January, today, because some people's next time never comes. Some people wake up on January 1st with plans to change, and they never make it to February. Stop treating God like a New Year trend. Stop giving Him your emotions without your obedience. Stop making promises you do not keep, because every broken promise hardens your heart, and one day you will not be able to feel His voice anymore. Turn back. Choose life. Surrender before it is too late. Thank you for listening to my story. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I want to pray for you tonight. Subscribe and watch the next testimony on your screen. There are more warnings that need to be heard. I do not know why I was given a second chance, but I know this. I will not waste it, and I pray that you will not waste yours. My name is Marcus Deshaun Williams. I am 34 years old. I died for 11 minutes on January 8th, 2023.